a week where our featured league is coming off of a successful Daytona campaign. The attention now turns to a very different track in Atlanta. We're going to talk about that and much more here on the Spin Move iRacing Network featured league race preview show. Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Zach, and this over here is David, and we are a part of Spin Move iRacing Network, and this is a chance where we take some time and talk about a league that we are featuring in this time that is maneuvering through an iRacing season. A very interesting league that we have picked because, well, we're in this league. Hopefully in the future we feature other leagues that maybe we don't race in. We could just look at it from an analyst point of view. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about this Ghost Racing Cup Series, and we're really excited for this new league because they certainly came out and meant business at Daytona. Now the attention moves to Atlanta. Say hi to the internet, David.
Hey, everybody. As Zach said, moving on to Atlanta this week. Some really great things coming up, and of course, lots of different conversations to have about a track like Atlanta compared to a super speedway such as Daytona. So, looking forward to going over all of it here with you, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive right into those conversations because there's a lot to be had with Atlanta. We are embarking in real life. What it means to take a look at Atlanta in a different way, but much like the rest of this season with Ghost, we are not in the new NASCAR generation, I guess 7, the new Gen cars. They decided to race in the Gen 6 cars, so it's only appropriate that we take a look at Atlanta as old Atlanta, not the mini super speedway that NASCAR is going to make. David, why don't you tell us a little bit about this track and kind of what gives it so much character as this league heads into week 2?
So the old Atlanta configuration, that everyone is still used to seeing, as we haven't seen the new repave debut in real life yet at Atlanta. High banking and just a really fast track overall. I was looking up some stats earlier today, and average qualifying lap time, real life for these NASCAR drivers, 193 miles an hour. So you're talking about, yes, it's a shorter track, but it is a very, very quick track. And when it comes down to high banking and older surface, something that we're going to have to watch out for because we don't have the repave on iRacing is the tire wear that comes along with some of those older surfaces and steep banks. So definitely looking forward to see how drivers manage that and some strategies that come into play throughout this race.
Absolutely. And taking a look at this race, it's very different than what we are really used to in managing our tires and things like that because we just went through Daytona where we talked about in our last installment on this channel that there were drivers that finished top 10 at Daytona. They never took any tires because they didn't need to. And now you are embarking on a 200-mile long journey on a racetrack with a ton of character, but man, does it eat those Goodyear tires and spit them right out. And so taking a look at this race, 200 miles, you have to include stage races and perspective that way for these drivers. We talked about the importance of stacking those points early and often. So how can you get creative with tire wear and managing how the race unfolds in front of you? So how do you juxtapose tire wear and stage racing?
So with tire wear in general, a lot of drivers are going to go out at some point this week and hop on iRacing and find out just how far they can push the limits of their car. So not only are they going to be looking at their tire wear, they're going to be looking at the fuel. As a league, we already know that the first stage is going to end at lap 50. So you might see some drivers out there working strategies or trying to understand how they can really get their car to either make it to those 50 laps, or when do I need to pit to be in the running, especially for some of those drivers lower in the point standing, for a good stage finish come the end of those 50 laps. So what I'm really looking forward to is, you know, Atlanta has multiple grooves on the track. Where are drivers going to race that are trying to save their tires, and how aggressive is everyone going to be early on in stage one? And then number two, for stage racing, are people going to take that pit stop early and try to line up for stage two versus just trying to go for maximum stage points in stage one?
Yeah, absolutely. And something that we have to mention in terms of pit cycles at this racetrack, a term that you, maybe the audience, or we as drivers are going to hear a lot heading into Atlanta is the term undercut. And what that simply means is that as soon as the fuel window opens, you might see some cars that are lagging back in the pack a little bit pit right away, and they want to undercut the rest of the field in terms of getting that mileage on their new tires, because tires are going to mean so much to these drivers at this racetrack. Seconds are going to be made up because drivers decide to pit a lap or two earlier, and that could dramatically change how stage racing plays out. So it might behoove somebody who's back in 11th or 12th, and maybe they don't have the car to really get into the top 10. Well, now we're talking a whole new way of racing strategy to move up in the points. At Daytona, the choices were simple. You just went down pit road, you didn't take tires, and you moved on with your life. Here at Atlanta, you don't have that option. You need to take four. So when you take four is really, really important. I also want to talk to you quickly about this league's unique rule with incident points, and how we can juxtapose that to know that, hey, when drivers race clean, when they have the 0x, they gain 2 bonus points in our point standing system. And let's juxtapose that with possible incidences that can happen at this racetrack, right? You already talked about how Atlanta's a multi-groove racetrack. If you want to kind of conserve your tires and be a little bit slower in the early run, you're going to hang around on the bottom, and that's going to be slow for a little while, but it will pay dividends as the run goes on. If you want to just let it all hang out and be Tyler Reddick and right up next to the wall, you can do that, and you'll be flying around that joint. But your tires are really going to start to wear really early. And then there's drivers, especially in 3 and 4, right? The middle of the racetrack is a viable place for folks to make moves and get moving early. Well, that makes for some really exciting racing, but it also makes for some serious problems as drivers move up through the field, as different fuel cycles start to happen. We just talked about undercutting, fast drivers moving through a field of slower drivers. So how do you think these drivers, knowing that, hey, we just had a full field at Daytona, 41 or 42 cars took the green at Daytona, and we had 3 cautions, and it was a great showing from this league. So now you're going to move into something completely different that has so many more variables, and it's already a track that lends itself to multi-groove racing.
Right. So things that I know I'm going to be looking for as a driver, and I certainly hope other drivers are going to be paying attention to. I run overlays, so I know when people stop and make those pit stops. I'm going to be watching for people on newer tires coming up from behind me, and I'm also going to be taking maybe a couple extra seconds every now and then to just glance up at my rear view. What's going on behind me? Where are the guys around me racing in those grooves? And just understanding, hey, this driver's been riding that low line this whole time, and he's been saving and saving and saving on those tires. I should probably expect for that driver at some point to say, hey, I've gone slow around this track enough, and I can go gain some speed on that high side to maybe start moving up the track, gain some of that speed at a cost of, sacrificing some of that tire they just saved. So I think drivers have to be extremely cautious of keeping an eye on their rear view and understanding that traffic behind them maybe moving a lot faster. Another thing I think drivers should pay attention to is after those pit stops start happening, Atlanta's a short track. You're going to have people merging onto a backstretch that isn't super wide, but if you go 3 wide, you're definitely pushing the limit of what the track can handle as you get down into 3 and 4. So drivers really have to pay attention where those cycles end and where they come out as drivers are coming on and off pit road.
Absolutely, right? This isn't Daytona anymore. Gone are the super speedways. It's back to reality now. We got to start driving like 3 wide's a big deal, because it's going to be a big deal as these drivers maneuver through pit cycles and engage the strategies of other competitors out there on the racetrack. Good stuff to hear. So, in my opinion, I think this race is going to lend itself to some very different strategies. Most times, often than not, Atlanta does lend itself to that undercut. And if you are a friend that is watching this, and you're going to hear our friends at SRM and the affiliates that broadcast this league, you're going to hear that word a lot, undercut. Normally, by the end of this thing, that's what wins the race. If it's a green flag run, somebody's got to make up 2 or 3 seconds because they decided, I'm going to undercut the field. I'm going to take the gamble and go all out when I get these fresh tires. And most of the iRacing experiences that I've been in Atlanta, that's really played out that way. So, talking about our expectations for this, multi-groove racing, pit strategy is way more of a factor than what we got to see at Daytona. Tires are going to be a big deal, so watch your tire limits, right? You can't afford going down to pit road and go, okay, I'm just going down for repairs, and then you don't uncheck your tires. That could be a devastating blow to a driver. You might have to go an extra run on the same set of tires, and that's brutal and almost impossible at this racetrack. So lots of different things for drivers to make note of. Let us make notes now as we tell the viewers, who are we going to look out for expectations for guys to be strong at this racetrack.
Right. So looking forward this week, DJ Daniel won it all last week. We both know he's one of those drivers that is not going to quit. I expect him to at least have a top 5 finish here. That being said, I think there are some other drivers who are going to challenge him at this track. We had Trey and Brock Whitehead who were up front last week. I haven't seen a whole lot of them super speedway racing like they had in Daytona, but I know for sure that these guys are quick and they're going to want to be up front at these shorter tracks. Names like Dan Miglin and a couple others we're going to have to keep an eye on. As we've said previously, we don't have a whole lot of experience, but we have seen them be super quick at these 1.5-mile style tracks in the preseason kind of, fun races and getting ready for the ghost season here. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts and maybe a driver or two that you would be watching out for on Wednesday.
Absolutely. I think one of the Whiteheads get it done this week. It is a driver's track where it pays to be aggressive, also pays to take care of your equipment. And the one knock against DJ Daniel that I've seen, although he is dominant, and by the end of the races he does wind up coming up front, he is a bit of a hot lapper. He can lay down those blistering qualifying laps, but as the run wears on, he kind of comes back towards the field. So it's going to take some drivers that can really manage their stuff over a long period of time. And I think the Whiteheads get it done this week. So either one, Brock or Trey, one of those guys that were so good at Daytona, they make amends for it this week and capture the win here at Atlanta. We certainly got to see a lot of powerful contenders through the preseason, like you said, and it will come down to ultimately who is going to be the driver at a driver's racetrack. We're done dealing with luck. We're done dealing with drafting. This is about manhandling that car off of two, making sure you take care of your stuff, and you're ready for the challenges that this kind of racetrack can give you. And I think that this league is ready to produce a good show for our viewers out there. And I want to encourage you. David already talked about it. It's Wednesday nights, and make sure you view the Ghost iRacing Cup Series through Facebook, and you're able to catch what's going on in their neck of the woods moving forward for the rest of the season. We are really excited to cover this league with you, and we hope that you're just as pumped up as we are as we prepare for the Ghost 200 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. For my friend David, my name is Zach, and this is the Spin Move iRacing Network. And until we meet again, keep on racing.